Speed feels endless. Every year we break records. Cars move faster. Planes cross oceans in hours. Computers solve problems in seconds. We live in a world that believes faster is always possible. Faster is progress. Faster is power. Faster is the future. But nature does not agree. Nature draws a hard line, a final line, a line nothing can cross. That line is the speed of light, and it is not a suggestion. It is a law written into the structure of reality itself. Light does not just move fast. It moves at the same speed for everyone, all the time. No matter how fast you move, no matter where you stand, no matter how strong your technology becomes, that alone is strange. That alone should make you pause, because everything else in the universe changes with motion. Sound changes, objects change, time on clocks changes, but light refuses to change. It stays the same, always. And that single fact forces the universe to behave in ways that feel impossible. This is not just about light. This is about the limits of reality. This is about why time slows down, why space shrinks, why mass grows heavier, why energy explodes near extreme speeds. This is about why the universe protects one number more than any other. A number so important that space and time bend to defend it. A number that decides how cause and effect work. A number that controls how the past connects to the future. Many people think the speed of light is only about light itself. That is a mistake. It is the maximum speed at which information can travel. The fastest speed at which reality can respond. The fastest speed at which one event can influence another. If something could go faster, it would break time. It would break order. It would break the idea of before and after. The universe would lose structure. So the universe enforces this limit with absolute authority. Richard Feynman saw this not as a technical rule, but as a deep message. He did not see light speed as just a measurement. He saw it as a sign that space and time are not rigid. They are flexible. They are alive. They reshape themselves to protect this limit. When objects try to go faster, time slows down. When they push harder, space contracts. When they resist, mass increases. Everything changes, except the speed of light. That is one of the most unsettling truths in physics. The universe does not let you break this limit. It changes itself first. It changes your clock. It changes your ruler. It changes your energy. It changes your perception, but it never changes the speed. That means speed is not just motion. It is structure. It is built into reality like a backbone. In this video, you will learn why the speed of light is not a barrier you run into. It is a foundation you are standing on. You will see how scientists discovered this limit and why their experiments shocked them. You will understand how time itself bends to defend it. You will see why space shrinks as speed rises. You will learn why energy becomes infinite near this boundary. You will learn why no machine, no engine, no future technology can cross it. Not because we lack power, but because the universe refuses to allow it. You will also discover why this number is not random, why it is not just a result of light, why it defines causality, why it defines reality, and why it suggests that the universe is built on deeper rules than motion and matter. Rules that shape everything we see and everything we will ever be able to do. Most people think physics is about equations, but this is about meaning. This is about limits. This is about why existence is structured the way it is. When Feynman spoke about these ideas, he did not try to remove mystery. He showed that the mystery runs deeper than we expected. He showed that the speed of light is not a wall. It is a design choice of the universe. There is a reason nothing outruns light. There is a reason time slows at high speed. There is a reason space compresses. There is a reason energy explodes. These are not accidents. They are protections, safeguards built into reality. And once you understand that, the universe stops looking like a machine and starts looking like a carefully balanced system. By the end of this video, you will not see speed the same way again. You will not see time as fixed. You will not see space as solid. You will realize that everything you experience is shaped by one silent rule, one limit that controls all motion. One number that holds the universe together. This is not a story about light. This is a story about why existence has boundaries, why reality stays stable, why chaos does not take over, and why even the fastest thing in the universe obeys something deeper than speed itself. Stay with this video until the end, because the final insight changes how you see motion, time, and the structure of everything around you. Each part builds on the last. Each idea reveals another layer. And once the full picture comes together, the speed of light will stop being a fact you memorize and start being a truth you understand. Welcome to our channel. This is a place where science meets wonder, where simple questions lead to deep truths, where reality is explored not just with numbers but with meaning. If you enjoy content that challenges how you see the universe, make sure to subscribe and become part of this journey. New videos are always on the way, and each one is designed to push your understanding further. Subscribe now and let us explore the limits of reality together. Light behaves in a way that feels almost rebellious. Everything else in nature follows a simple rule. When you chase it, it appears slower. When it chases you, it appears faster. That is how motion works for cars, for planes, for sound, and for every object we touch. Speed is supposed to depend on who is watching. But light refuses to obey this rule. It moves with the same speed for every observer, no matter how fast or slow they are moving. That alone makes light different from everything else in the universe. Light does not slow down when it passes through empty space. It does not lose energy from motion itself. It does not fade because it has traveled too far. A beam of light leaving a distant star crosses millions of years of space and still moves at the same exact speed when it reaches your eyes. Distance does not weaken its motion. Time does not exhaust it. Space does not resist it. Light moves as if the universe is made for it. Even more strange is how light behaves when you try to chase it. If you run toward a beam of light, you would expect its speed to increase relative to you. That is what happens with every other moving thing. But light does not do that. It keeps its speed unchanged. The universe adjusts everything else instead. Your measurement of time shifts. Your measurement of distance shifts. But the speed of light remains untouched, as if it is protected by something deeper than motion. Light also does not carry the idea of effort. It does not push harder. It does not slow under pressure. It simply exists in constant motion, not fast by choice, but fast by nature. It is born at that speed. It dies at that speed. And between those moments, it never changes. When scientists first discovered this, it felt wrong. It challenged basic logic. It forced a new way of thinking about space and time. Light was no longer just a traveler through the universe. It became a ruler by which the universe measures itself. Every clock, every distance, every movement is quietly compared against the motion of light. Not because light is powerful, but because it is absolute. For a long time, scientists believed light should behave like everything else. They assumed that speed would change depending on motion. If you moved toward it, it should seem faster. If you moved away, it should seem slower. That was how the world worked. That was how sound worked. That was how thrown objects worked. Light was expected to follow the same logic. It felt reasonable. It felt unavoidable. But when experiments became precise enough to test this idea, the results refused to cooperate. Careful measurements were made, different directions were tested, different seasons were observed, different speeds of motion were compared. The expectation was simple. The speed of light should shift as Earth moved through space. It should add or subtract from Earth's motion, just like wind adds or subtracts from the speed of sound. But no matter how the experiment was arranged, the results stayed the same. The speed of light never changed. Not slightly, not sometimes, not under special conditions. Always the same number. At first, this was treated as an error. Instruments were checked. Methods were improved. New experiments were designed. The same outcome appeared again and again. Light did not care about the motion of its source. It did not care about the motion of the observer. It behaved as if the universe itself was holding it to a fixed rule. This was not just unexpected. It was disturbing. It meant one of the most basic ideas in physics was wrong. It meant speed was not relative in the way people had believed. It meant that something deeper was controlling how motion worked. Scientists were forced to accept that light was not obeying the old framework. The framework itself had to change. Instead of asking why light was strange, a new question emerged. Why did space and time allow light to be so special? Why would the universe permit one speed to remain untouched while everything else adjusted? The discovery did not only redefine light, it redefined reality. Feynman approached problems by stripping them down to their simplest form. He did not start with complicated equations. He started with clear questions. When light refused to behave like normal objects, he did not try to force it into old rules. He asked whether the rules themselves were wrong. Instead of saying light was broken, he considered that space and time might be the things that needed adjustments. If light always moved at the same speed, then something else had to give way. Distances could no longer be fixed. Time could no longer flow the same for everyone. Measurement itself had to become flexible. This was not a small shift in thinking. It was a complete reversal. The universe was no longer a rigid stage where events played out. The stage itself was part of the action. Feynman saw that light was not just a particle or a wave, it was a signal that revealed how reality was built. Its constant speed was not a problem to be solved, it was a clue to be followed. Instead of asking how light could change, he asked how the universe changed to allow light to remain constant. This way of thinking made space and time dynamic. They were not passive backgrounds, they were active players. They stretched, they compressed, they adapted, all to keep one rule intact, the rule that the speed of light must never be violated. To Feynman, this showed that the universe was not random. It was organized around deep principles. Light was not special because it was fast. It was special because it revealed the structure of reality. It acted like a reference point, a fixed signal in a flexible universe.
By treating light as a foundation instead of an exception, everything else began to make sense. Time slowing down was no longer strange. Space shrinking was no longer bizarre. These were natural responses of a universe that refused to let its core rule be broken.
Speed is not free. Every increase demands energy. A bicycle needs effort. A car needs fuel. A rocket needs enormous power just to leave the ground. The faster something goes, the harder it becomes to push it further. This feels normal at low speeds, but it turns extreme as motion approaches the speed of light. The relationship between speed and energy stops being gentle. It becomes brutal. At first, adding energy gives a clear result. More power means more speed. But as an object moves faster and faster, the same amount of energy produces less and less change. It is like trying to push a heavy door that becomes heavier every second. No matter how hard you push, the door resists more than before. Motion turns into resistance. Near light speed, something strange happens. The object begins to behave as if its mass is increasing. Not because more matter is added, but because motion itself becomes harder to change. Energy no longer feels like fuel. It feels like pressure against a barrier that cannot be crossed. Each small gain in speed demands a massive rise in energy. This is where the numbers explode. As speed approaches the limit, the required energy grows without bound. It does not grow slowly. It rises sharply, then wildly, then infinitely. To reach the speed of light, an object would need an infinite amount of energy. Not a very large amount, not an impossible amount for technology, an actual infinity, a quantity that cannot exist in the physical universe. Energy must come from somewhere. It must be stored, transferred, or created. Infinite energy cannot be built, collected, or contained. There is no container large enough, no star powerful enough, no process capable of producing it. The universe itself does not have infinite energy available. That makes the speed of light unreachable, not because of engineering limits, but because of logical limits. This transforms the speed of light into more than a record. It becomes a boundary that cannot be pushed by force. It is not blocked by weakness. It is blocked by mathematics and structure. Motion slows not because engines fail, but because reality refuses to supply the energy required to cross that line. Time feels steady in daily life. Seconds pass. Minutes follow. Everything seems to move forward at the same rhythm for everyone. That belief holds only when motion is slow. As speed rises, time begins to lose its stability. It stretches, it shifts, it refuses to remain the same for all observers. Near the speed of light, time no longer behaves like a shared experience. It becomes personal. When an object moves very fast, its internal clock starts to slow down. Processes inside it take longer. Chemical reactions slow. Atomic vibrations stretch. Even biological activity would slow if a living thing could travel that fast. From the outside, the object appears frozen in a softer flow of time. While the rest of the universe moves normally, the fast object drifts through a thinner version of time. This is not an illusion. It is not a trick of measurement. Time itself is changing. The faster something goes, the slower its time becomes. Each step closer to light speed weakens the flow of time inside the moving object. At extreme speeds, time barely moves at all. Events struggle to unfold. change almost stops. This bending of time is not random. It has direction. It protects the speed limit. If time did not slow, objects could stack energy faster and faster without resistance. But slowing time makes each increase in speed harder to achieve. It acts like a brake that grows stronger as motion grows stronger. The universe uses time as a shield.
For an object at light speed, time would stop completely. No motion inside, no change, no aging, no sequence of events. That is why objects with mass cannot reach the speed. They depend on time to exist. They require flow. They require sequence. Without time, they lose their ability to function.
So time becomes a flexible tool. It stretches to prevent crossing the boundary. It weakens motion by slowing experience. It guards the structure of cause and effect. The universe does not forbid speed with force. It forbids it by reshaping time itself. Space feels solid and reliable. A meter is a meter. A kilometer is a kilometer. Distance seems fixed, independent of motion. That belief only survives at low speeds. As motion increases, space begins to lose its rigidity. It starts to compress. It starts to fold inward. Length is no longer absolute. It becomes dependent on how fast something is moving. When an object travels at high speed, its length in the direction of motion shrinks. Not because it is being crushed, but because space itself is changing its measurement. From the outside, the object appears shorter. The faster it moves, the more its length contracts. This effect is small at everyday speeds, but it grows stronger as the object approaches light speed. Near that limit, length nearly disappears. This means distance itself is not permanent. It is flexible. It responds to motion. The path an object must travel becomes shorter from its own perspective. Space adjusts to maintain the same rule that time protects. The speed of light must remain unchanged. If time slows down and space did not shrink, the balance would break. So both bend together. They cooperate. For something moving extremely fast, the universe compresses the road ahead. The distance becomes smaller, not because the object moves faster, but because space reshapes itself. The object does not conquer space. Space rearranges itself to preserve the limit. This makes motion near light speed feel strange. Progress happens without the usual sense of distance. The journey collapses. This behavior shows that space is not a background, it is an active system. It responds, it adapts, it reacts to motion just as time does. Both are tools the universe uses to protect one rule. Space shortens, time slows, energy rises. All three work together to prevent any object with mass from reaching the forbidden speed. As speed increases, space becomes thinner. Length loses meaning. The idea of separation weakens. The universe sacrifices distance before it sacrifices its limit. The speed of light is often misunderstood. People think it only belongs to light, as if it is just a property of a bright beam moving through space. But its meaning is far deeper than that. It is not the speed of a thing. It is the speed of connection. It is the speed at which the universe allows events to influence one another. It is the speed of cause and effect. Every action needs time to create a reaction. A star explodes, and its light travels outward. A signal is sent, and it moves across space. A particle changes, and that change spreads. None of these effects happen instantly. They all move it till below one limit. That limit is the speed of light. It is the fastest way information can travel. It is the fastest way reality can update itself. If this speed were not fixed, order would collapse. Causes and effects could mix. The future could affect the past. Events could arrive before they happen. The structure of time would lose meaning. The universe depends on a maximum speed to keep sequence alive. Before must come before. After must come after. The speed of light guards this structure. That is why it is more accurate to call it the speed of information. It is the speed at which reality shares news with itself. When something changes in one place, the rest of the universe can only learn about it at this rate. No signal can outrun it, no influence can bypass it. Is the limit of communication. Even gravity obeys this rule. Changes in gravity do not move instantly. They travel at the same speed. That shows how deep this limit runs. It is not owned by light. Light simply follows the same rule. Everything else must follow. This turns the speed of light into the heartbeat of the universe. It sets the rhythm at which events can unfold. It defines how fast reality can react to itself. It defines how fast knowledge can spread. It defines how fast existence can respond. Feynman understood that the speed of light was not something the universe decided after it was formed. It was not an extra rule written on top of reality. It was woven into the structure from the beginning. Space and time were shaped around it. Every movement, every interaction, every exchange of energy quietly depends on this one constant. It sits at the center of how the universe is organized. Instead of thinking of light speed as a limit we run into, Feynman saw it as a starting point. It was the reference that defined everything else. Time could stretch or compress. Space could bend or shrink. Energy could rise without bound. But the speed of light stayed untouched. That meant it was not reacting to the universe. The universe was reacting to it. This way of thinking changed the meaning of physical laws. Laws were no longer instructions imposed from outside. They were consequences of structure. If space and time exist, and if they exist in a certain form, then the speed of light must exist as well. It was not optional. It was inevitable. Light did not force its speed on the universe. The universe was built so that this speed naturally appeared. It was as fundamental as length, time, or energy. More fundamental, even. Those things could change depending on motion. This speed could not. It remained constant while everything else adjusted. That is why experiments never found a way around it. There was nothing to bypass. There was nothing to defeat. It was not a wall. It was the ground. Trying to exceed it was like trying to step outside the concept of distance itself. For Feynman, this was not a technical detail. It was a philosophical shift. It meant reality was not just a collection of objects moving through space. Reality was a system built on deep symmetries and limits. The speed of light was one of those limits, acting as a silent architect, shaping all physical behavior. This idea is unsettling because it reverses everything that feels natural. Speed feels like something that should grow without end. More power should mean more motion. Better machines should mean fewer limits. But here, speed stops being a matter of strength and becomes a matter of structure. It is not that we are too weak to go faster. It is that the universe is not built to allow it. Time also loses its certainty. It feels permanent, steady, shared by everyone. Yet near this limit, time changes its behavior. It stretches and slows. It becomes different for different observers. It stops being a universal river and turns into a flexible current that adjusts itself to protect one rule. That alone is enough to shake how reality is understood. Space follows the same pattern. Distance feels solid and reliable. A path feels fixed. But at high speed, space contracts. Length shrinks. The separation between places weakens. Space is no longer a rigid container. It becomes a responsive system that reshapes itself under motion. The universe is willing to sacrifice distance before it sacrifices the limit. When speed, time, and space all bend together, something deeper becomes clear. These are not independent things. They are parts of one structure. They move together. They protect the same constant. They behave like parts of a single design rather than separate features of reality. The most striking part is that none of this is enforced by force. There is no barrier, no wall, no explosion that stops motion. Instead, reality gently reshapes itself. Time slows. Space shortens. Energy rises. Each adjustment is subtle on its own, but together they create an unbreakable boundary. This shows that the universe is not passive. It is active in maintaining its own rules. It corrects motion. It regulates behavior. It protects its foundations. The speed of light is not guarded by strength, but by balance. Once this is understood, reality stops feeling mechanical and starts feeling intentional. Not in a human sense, but in a structural sense. Everything is arranged to preserve one number, one constant that defines how existence unfolds. Speed becomes secondary. Time becomes flexible. Space becomes responsive. And the universe reveals itself as a system that reshapes its own fabric to protect its deepest rule. Once the speed of light is seen as a foundation, a deeper question appears. Why this number? Why does the universe choose this exact value and not another? It is not a clean number. It is not simple. It feels almost random. Yet everything in reality is built around it. Time, space, energy, and causality all bend to protect this single value. That makes it feel less like an accident and more like a signature. If it were faster, the universe would be very different. Events would influence each other almost instantly. Structures might never stabilize. Stars might form and collapse too quickly. Order might never fully settle. If it were slower, the universe would feel heavy and delayed. Information would crawl. Reactions would lag. The growth of complexity might never reach the level needed for galaxies, planets, or life. This number quietly shapes what is possible. The speed of light sets the scale of reality. It controls how large structures can become. It controls how fast systems can evolve. It controls how tightly cause and effect are linked. It decides how quickly the universe can respond to itself. That makes it more than a physical constant. It becomes a tuning point for existence. Some see this as coincidence. Others see it as necessity. Perhaps only certain values allow a stable universe to exist. Perhaps only a narrow range of speeds can support structure, order, and complexity. Outside that range, reality might collapse into chaos or freeze into stagnation. The speed of light could be sitting at a balance point between extremes.
This turns the question into something larger than physics. It becomes a question about why the universe has the shape it does, why it supports stars, motion, chemistry, and thought, why it allows patterns to form and persist. The speed of light might be one of the hidden settings that makes all of this possible.
It feels less like a measured value and more like a chosen one. Not chosen by intention, but by necessity. As if the universe had only a few ways to exist at all. And this was one of them. The number becomes a quiet answer to a much older mystery. Why there is something instead of nothing. Why reality has structure instead of disorder. Why motion exists, but only within limits. We usually say we live in space and time as if those are the main ingredients of existence. As if they are the stage and we are the actors moving across it. But beneath both of them sits something even more basic. A limit that quietly controls how space can stretch and how time can flow. A limit that decides how fast change itself is allowed to happen. We live inside a speed limit, and everything we experience unfolds within its boundaries. Every moment you observe is shaped by it. Every sound you hear, every image you see, every signal your brain receives, none of it arrives instantly. All of it travels, and all of it obeys the same rule. There is a maximum pace at which reality can communicate with itself. That pace defines how the universe feels to exist inside. When you look at the stars, you are looking into the past because of this limit. Their light takes time to reach you. When you move your hand, the information that your hand has moved spreads outward at this speed. When a star explodes, the universe does not know it all at once. The news travels. Reality updates itself gradually, never faster than this one number allows. This means the universe is not happening everywhere at the same time in the same way. It is unfolding in waves of information, expanding outward at a fixed pace. Every event sends ripples into the future. Every cause takes time to become an effect. That delay is not a flaw. It is a design feature of reality. Space is the arena. Time is the flow. But the speed limit is the rhythm. It sets the tempo of existence. It decides how quickly the universe can respond to itself. It determines how tightly events can be connected. It defines the shape of experience. Even your thoughts are bound by it. Signals inside your brain move at physical speeds. Perception itself unfolds under this rule. Consciousness lives inside this limit just as much as stars and galaxies do. So existence is not just about where and when. It is also about how fast. How fast reality can speak to itself. How fast order can form. How fast change is allowed to move. We are not just residents of space and time. We are inhabitants of a universe that moves to a maximum tempo. And everything we call reality dances within that silent constraint. The speed of light is not just a number written in books. It is the boundary that shapes everything you experience. It decides how fast the universe can react. It decides how time can flow. It decides how space can stretch or shrink. It is the silent rule that holds reality together. We chase speed. We celebrate power. We dream of breaking limits. But this is one limit that does not move. Instead, it moves us. It changes our clocks. It changes our rulers. It changes our understanding of what is possible. And in doing so, it shows that the universe is not built for endless motion, but for balance. The closer we look, the clearer it becomes. Light speed is not a wall at the edge of physics. It is the foundation beneath it. It is the reason cause and effect make sense. It is the reason time has order. It is the reason reality does not collapse into chaos. Understanding this does not make the universe smaller. It makes it deeper. It shows that even the fastest thing we know is part of a much larger design. A design where limits are not weaknesses, but structure. Where boundaries are not failures, but the framework that allows existence to remain stable. And that is what truly collapses the mind. Not that we cannot go faster, but that everything we are, everything we see, and everything we will ever build exists inside this one silent rule. If this video changed how you think about speed, time, and reality, then make sure to like this video. It helps the channel grow and lets us know you want more content like this. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel because many more journeys into the hidden rules of the universe are coming next.